Do you accept that Israel is attracting a great deal of criticism in the international community for the high number of Palestinian civilian deaths? Israel is attracting criticisms, not just Hamas, but your country too.
We are in the middle of a military operation. We are not in a position now to assess who is supporting us, who is not supporting us. We know it's not easy to fight inside civilian population. It is very hard for us. We do the best to avoid casualties. And unlike Hamas, who is using the civilians to hide and is targeting the civilians here in Israel, we do exactly the opposite. We do our best. We even call the civilians and ask them to deploy, to move out from their neighborhoods and not to allow Hamas. But I know it is very hard for them. You cannot blame the civilians because the Hamas is threatening them, is using them. Yes, we are worried about what our friends and allies think, but in a time of war, in a time of conflict, we have to do everything necessary to protect ourselves.
The United Nations Human Rights Commissioner, Navi Pillay, has said at an emergency session of the UN Human Rights Commission on Wednesday that the killings of the children she's talking about in particular, and let me just remind you, around 147 children under the age of 18, Palestinians have been killed. She says their killings raise concerns about respect for the principles of distinction, proportionality and precautions in attack. Let's just take this first one of these points, proportionality. Do you believe that Israel's response to the campaign by Hamas has been a proportional one, proportionate?
Absolutely. When you look in proportion, you ask yourself, when you have millions of Israelis running into shelters, hundreds of missiles. I look at myself. When my daughters for the last 2 weeks have to wake up in the middle of the night and run to the shelter every night. This is not a way to live. The only thing we ask is to live peacefully in Israel. That's not much. And we're defending ourselves.
I'll just reiterate my question again to you, Danny Danon. Is Israel's response a proportionate one? Around 650 Palestinians have been killed. 74% of them, according to the United Nations, are civilians. 147 children, 2 disabled women. I'm just giving you some examples here. And regrettably, on the Israeli side, around 30, a handful of them civilians. Does that sound to you like a proportionate response?
I regret the loss of anyone. But if you look at numbers, you can go back to World War II, when the UK targeted civilian population in Germany. More than 25 people died in Dresden. When you are in a conflict, you do whatever you need to protect your people. And we're doing it now. The order that we give to our soldiers, to our troops, do not hurt the civilians, even if it means that you cannot catch the terrorists. And we're paying a heavy price.
Okay, so you're saying
when you look at the numbers,
just on the proportionate number, you brought up history, but let's just focus on what's going on in the Gaza campaign now. Simple question. I'd appreciate a simple answer, sir. Do you think Israel's response is a proportionate one?
I think it is the appropriate response because we are defending ourselves. I was wondering what would be the reaction of your army, of the UK army, if you had hundreds of tunnels beneath London, if you had Al-Qaeda attacking your home, your house. What would be the response of the US, of the EU? When you are under attack, you protect yourself. This is self-defense. That's what we are doing. We did not choose to fight. We do not want to fight. We have no other choice because the Hamas is the one who is actually hurting the civilians in Israel, and we are protecting them.